Hey everybody, Snake Doc here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, you can see here on what I'm using as a bench today. I'm actually outside on my rear patio or deck. I disassembled the Hatsun shotgun, which if you haven't watched the video yet, go check out the video. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stipple. I plan on stippling in here on both sides, and I might even do a couple of these strips. For sure. This is really slippery. So what you want to do before you decide on a stippling project is really handle the gun and find out where the slick spots are and what points of contact you actually need more traction in. In my case, up here is pretty slick. There's no texturing here, and I would hold this like this, so I want some more friction right here. And then where my fingers wrap around, it's really slippery. So I'm gonna put some traction. I'm gonna come up with a design and put it in here. So that's all I'm gonna do for the stock. The stock comes off with a 13mm socket. You're gonna need a long extension to be able to get down in there, because you gotta get way down to where that nut is. This comes apart real easy. This is part of your field strip procedure. And I just took the bolt assembly off. It just lifts off, and then that's on my workbench where I took this apart. So I've got my Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight wood burner kit, which I use for doing my stippling. These are like $8, $8 or $9. They might be a little more than that now. So some of the other stuff that you're gonna need is, I use just a small set of hobby pliers for changing the tip, because that it's plugged in right now and it's actually heating up, even though I haven't chosen a tip yet. Gets really hot. Then I have a brass brush, which I use to clean the tip of whatever tip I chose to use for my stippling, because it gets some of the polymer on there. So maybe like every minute or two, I just brushed it and give it a clean surface there. I use brass because the tips are brass. I also have a flexible steel ruler here, and what that's good for is when you're defining your borders. So let's say I wanted to do a straight edge right here. I could hold this right here, and then I could tape it on there. And then what I would do is just run my stipple iron along there, and then I would get a nice straight edge. So you can use smaller ones. You can do just tape, but you'll burn the tape. So at least with this, you know, you're gonna it's a material that you're not gonna be able to burn through. On that note, I do keep some masking tape here for any areas that I want to maybe separate, or if I wanted to come up with a custom design, then I could cut it out of the tape with a razor blade or something like that. This is the tips that come with the wood burner. So there's like a razor, there's a blunt, round, a point, a spare razor. Then there's like a flat chisel tip like that, and a really sharp fine point. The tip that I use most often when I do pistols is this. I really like that, so I can go really super fast, and it makes it very randomized. The other tips that I bought here, let me get those out. Let me get this stuff put in here without cutting me. I bought these, I can't remember if it was eBay or Amazon. This is the other thing that comes in that one, and this is a copper spade bit. And what you can do with this is, if you screw up your stippling, you can take this and you just hold it at a slight bevel against the polymer, and you can drag it and you can flatten it back down. So you can fix, if you will, you can fix your mistakes. That's a really handy tip, a very, very handy tip. So I don't know if I can hold this so you can see that this is a bunch of random tips, and this is just like a bars. I don't know if that's showing up. Sorry, there's a glare on my screen. There you go. And actually I think I practiced that on this case that the wood burner comes in, and you can kind of see what pattern that would produce. So if you like, these would be something like your time saver tips, because it covers a lot of real estate in a short amount of time. This one's kind of cool. And then there's actually a, I don't know if I can find it here real quick. There's a, here we go. It's like the West Coast Choppers cross. And then there's a triangle. What else? Here's a circle. It's like a bullseye target. That one's kind of cool. So yeah, I picked those up to mess around with. Here's another spade. This one's all brass instead of copper. I like the copper one better because it seems to get hot super fast. But I might want to try this tip today. It's small, but it's blunt. It's not so pointed, so it's going to give me a bigger contact patch, and I want to try doing some S patterns. So I think that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to pause while I get set up here, and then I'll check back in once I start doing some of my stippling on here. Show you guys how it goes. Okay, so I've got my tip installed on my burner now, and it's starting to change color, which lets me know that it's hot enough. You can see it's no longer like a brass color. I'm hoping you can see it now. It's almost like a coppery color, because that is the heat embedding itself into that metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this depression right here, and it's already sort of a triangular shape. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that bit, and I'm going to just do dots first, and I'm going to make my outline. And then what I'll do once I have my outline is then I'll start making my S shapes on the inside, or figuring out what pattern I want on the inside. So let me get started on that, and I'll unpause in just a few minutes here once I get my pattern done. Okay, so I went ahead and laid out my outline for the way that I want to fill. And there you can see how I kind of just followed the depression here. And I did not clean the tip, but I'm going to now. Here you can see, I don't want to get it too close to my hand, but there you can see there's just a little residue on there. So I just take this and just brush it like this. Then when you see it change back color, and you make it all shiny like that, then you know you're good to go again. So now I'm gonna try doing like a randomized S-drag pattern in here. So I'll try doing that on camera right here for a second or so before I go back to pausing. This polymer is melting really easily, and here you can see that I've just kind of done some random spots, and then I'm just going to go back in and fill around on that. Just want to keep the burner moving, and if every time you pick up and touch back down, it's going to make a pattern. You can see it where I'm doing a lot of dragging, but I'm also getting dimples because I'm just gently lifting and tapping at various locations, and that's going to be it's definitely going to provide some friction, but it's not a super aggressive pattern. So it's going to be just enough on this. So I'm going to pause and finish in this area here, and I'll be back once I get that done. Okay, so it's not a gigantic area. It's about equivalent to like maybe the front strap on a polymer pistol frame. And it only took me literally like 60 seconds to do that. Now I like working outdoors because I work pretty close to it, and the fumes that come off there are kind of nasty, and with a little breeze outside it blows it away from your face. A lot of times when I do these inside in the winter, I have to keep blowing out, like breathing in through my nose. I turn my head to the side and I breathe in through my nose, and then I blow out through my mouth, and I can actually blow the smoke away from this. But I just want to show you guys the pattern that it's coming up with. And that, so what you do is when you hold this against the light like this, you look for any areas that are shiny, that look similar to this. Like there might be one like right here, and then you just kind of go into that area again and you just touch it right there, and then it goes away. So it's really simple to do, and it makes a gigantic bit of difference when it comes to friction. And if you don't have any grip tape, remember this is a permanent alteration to your vehicle, or not your vehicle, to your weapon or rifle, shotgun, pistol, whatever you choose to do it on. So just be wary. You can get, like you've seen in my other videos, maybe I use GT5000 grip tape a lot. I like that on something that I think I might end up selling down the road. This was a $150 shotgun. Seriously, if somebody wants to argue with me because I stippled it and I made it more functional, then you know what, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. So what I'll probably do is just set the video on pause, keep going on this, doing the same sort of thing, and then I'll check back with finals and show you guys the final result here. So stand by for that. Okay, I just want to show you guys something. I wasn't careful at one point. I was holding the burner at a 45-degree angle, and I was doing down in here, and the outer edge that gets hot touched right there. And I don't know if you can see, but I kind of went outside my border that I had made. So that's just going to be a blem that'll remind me that I'm not a machine. And so here you can see that both sides of that are done, and that is a tremendous amount of difference. But I still think I need something down here. I don't like running the pump from up here. I found that out just by handling it. So I'm not going to stipple anything forward here because I don't think I'll ever actuate it that way. So what I want to do is probably do some traction inside these ribs right here. So I'll probably do a finer point tip on there and just randomize that. And I think I'll leave this smooth all the way around here. Not sure though, I might want to put it back together before I start on that. I think what I'll do is I'm going to bring this over now and kind of start hitting these areas up top, laying out a pattern. I might try doing it with tape here just to show you how that looks. So here we can see I've just kind of laid out a section for the top part of the grip that I want to do with some tape. And if you rub that down on there, you can see like my distance that I went above these preformed ribs on there is equal on each side. And there's a center line on this casting, and you can see that it's basically symmetrical. It may not be 100%, but it'll look pretty good. So now when I go ahead and start my border, I can start it right along that tape edge and try and follow that. It gives me a reference point. Now remind you, the tape will burn from the heat of that wood burner, but it's not gonna like catch on fire or whatever. You just kind of want to stay right against it, and then as you're depressing on that polymer, it forms a depression, and then it'll lift up. So it's pretty easy to do here. So I think I'm gonna get started on that now. Okay, so I just got done with that pattern, and I just really went light and barely even freckled it, but it looks good. And we're gonna pull the tape now and show how the border turned out. The one thing that you need to keep in mind as you're working with this, and it gets hotter and hotter, you can see that the residue builds up a little bit faster. Like I had to brush this 4 times while doing that section right there. So that tip is probably at maximum heat capacity right now. So let's pull this tape off and see. So there we see how it has a nice defined shape, and it's just barely just barely frictioned out. So I think it's going to be a really nice design and feel. I definitely want to do this section now. This section I'm going to have to use fine line tape because there's a curve to it. And if you take regular paper tape and try to curve it, it will it'll fold. It'll put a hard crease and you won't ever get a straight line. So I'm either going to freehand it or I'm going to go down and put some fine line tape on there and do that section. But I definitely want to do probably pretty close to the same style of stippling that I did on there. And then we'll be all finished for today. Okay, so I just want to show you, I just got done putting fine line tape on there. And when I say fine line, it's basically like a skinny electrical tape. And you can see it, sorry it's black, it's the same color as the stock, but you can see that I curved it here, and that when you press down hard and make sure it's down and sticky, you can see the ends of the scallops there through it. And then I just hooked it in there. So now what I'm going to do is just put some yellow tape around here, and then I think I'm going to shorten it up a little bit down here across the front too. And that'll make sure that fine line tape stays down as well. Okay, so I've got everything laid out now and I'm ready to start. You can see here that I shortened the bottom of the grip. So I'm gonna stipple in all of that area right there. So I'm gonna start by doing my border, and then I can be a little more carefree once I have my border established. So here we can see my border is done, and I got about half of the casting flash finished there. So now I'm going to move into this section right here, and then I'll be back with the final. Okay, so here we are, we have that part finished, and it's very reptile looking. We're going to start pulling the tape here and see how our border turned out. So let me get all this tape down. So there we go. Now, feels fantastic. One thing I do want to mention here is when you get up close to edges, you want to be very careful, because as the burner is going in, it's making a depression, and you don't want to leach material off the finished edge. Otherwise, you might have to just kind of hit it with a file or some sandpaper so that you still have that nice flush fit look on your up against your receiver. So let me go bolt this back together and I'll show you guys how it looks as a completed project here. Okay, so here it is put back together. We can show we got an empty chamber there, and definitely feels way better. Doesn't look too bad. And the only thing I think I'm gonna do is my thumb goes up here, and I think I'm gonna stipple in here, and I want to put some thumb traction up on there. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and give it a try sometime. I think you'll like it.